It's a very exciting night for us. Tonight is the opening night. You know, the musicians in this orchestra represent a great many of the world's nations and religions and philosophies and schools of thought and schools of music. And in their diversity, they bring great beauty, strength, and color to my music. And I'm always grateful to all of them for breathing life to my notes.
I want to affect people in a good way, to lift their spirits, open their hearts, move them emotionally.
Ready? Do it.
I write a piece of music by myself in the studio, at the piano, at the keyboard, most of the time just sitting quiet and thinking of it, hearing it in my mind. That's one thing. But you take this music now and you bring an Armenian violinist to interpret one of the melodies. And then you bring a Japanese violinist like Sayaka, who's incredible also, to interpret the other violin line. And then you give it to a Venezuelan flutist to interpret a duduk, an Armenian instrument.
I'm late, got this. He's always late.
With a guy named Charlie Adams, our drummer, incredible, who is from Chicago.
Play out, this is it's fine.
And then you have Hussein Jifri on the bass, who is from Sri Lanka, and on and on and on. And the music becomes colorful, it becomes alive. It takes a meaning and a soul that I almost didn't intend.
We have all these different ethnic people, different religions, different musical styles, and we all get along.
Within a month from the time we start being all together, all these musicians, I believe, become much more intelligent because they're learning from each other too. And the whole show benefits from that. And I'm the catalyst. I just love watching that take place. And I just have to make sure I don't control it too much.
Good catch. Bravo. Very good. No Spanish, no more Spanish around here. I come to rehearsal and I go, Spanish. Now I got the Japanese speaking Spanish, I got Armenians speaking Spanish, I got Russians trying to speak English. Oh. Yeah. Sometimes this happens during rehearsal and I pretend I know what they just said.
The part that's the most enjoyable for me is the multicultural thing that's going on all the time. Because everywhere you turn, it's a different accent. You know, it's somebody who has a different history from yours, a different perspective of their own music and what they bring to this music. And it's the way it ought to be. It's the way life ought to be all the time. Because after you get to know everyone, there's no colors, there's no accents. It's just people that all dig doing music together, and that is so cool, and I really miss it when I'm away from it.
Alfreda Gerald is an incredible vocalist. She's got soul, and she sings. She hits her notes. Her intonation is impeccable, and she never slips. She's just phenomenal. And when I cut her loose in the front of the stage, and she takes over the whole audience, she's an incredible performer.
Yeah. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Normally you guys be standing up. You know what it is, right? So don't forget it next time. Remember, we're training camera guys. If they don't know you're going to be up, they don't know they're going to shoot that.
When I met Walter at the very beginning, I just hired him because he was an incredible percussionist and a great sense of rhythm and accuracy and very powerful. That's what I liked about Walter. He's a powerful performer. At the same time, one day we were sitting there and he started tap dancing a little bit and doing something with some PVC pipes. And I went, "What is that?" I asked him to do a little more for me, and I just watched him do it, and it blew me away. And I thought, why don't we figure out how to bring this into the concert?
My biggest problem is standing in motion. And it's nothing to do with anybody, it just has to do with the writing. The song wasn't meant to do what we're making it try to do right now.
Sometimes what you create tells you what it wants to be, and you have to be sensitive enough to allow it to be that.
You hear Pedro in there?
The West Palm Beach rehearsals are the raw rehearsals, are the first time the musicians are getting together with each other. The entire orchestra is not there. Maybe 1/3 of the orchestra is there. And we work through parts of music and then eventually the entire pieces of music as we try to make them work.
When you cannot buy it, you gotta make it. So that's what it is. I'm making this, I can't buy this, so I gotta make my own flute. So.
Yeah, that's it. Perfect. Great, great. I like that. That's really good. Can you mark the CD where this was? In case she forgets, this was really good. Do you remember? Well, you remember what you just did? So the first one, you're going to hit the high note.
Yep.
Then you'll come down and do what you just did. That was really good.
If I forget, just say Aretha Franklin.
And then the last one, that's fine. We can, yeah, we say thank you, Aretha Franklin.
I stole
Thank
it
you.
from her. That's it.
That's good. If you're going to steal from somebody, Aretha Franklin is a good person. As soon as I can get Ramon off the phone, I can rehearse. What is that high-end chicky stuff? That's not it. Oh, maybe, yeah, this one.
Okay.
It's the same thing twice.
Okay, here it comes. Let's start it again from the beginning and play your rhythm.
I have the concept of the songs and what I want to see happen, plus I keep in mind who I'm working with, because a lot of my musicians are not from America. They were raised in different cultures with different philosophies and different religions and different ideas about how music should be done. If I am clever, I would allow those philosophies and those emotions to come into my music, and then through this complexity comes beauty because it becomes unique.
A strict, straight orchestral performance, you got a pretty good idea of what you're going to hear. You know, and if you go to see a band that's been built as a world band or something, you get an idea of what you're going to hear because those genres are so straight. Because Yanni brings in so many different things, you know, percussion and hammered dulcimer and a Paraguayan harpist and, you know, violinist from Armenia and all these different colors, and pulls it all together. You get something that's different from world music. It's certainly different from any techno or any pop or classical. It's really got its own thing.
1, 2, 3, pow!
Until the Last Moment is one of my favorite pieces I've ever written in my life, and it's a very special piece because I wrote it. I remember exactly where I was when I wrote it. I was in Greece. It was towards the end of August. Everybody was gone. I was there at my house by myself. And when I was composing it, I got the idea one evening, and everybody was asleep in the house. And then when my dad woke up the next day, I showed him half the piece. And then the next couple of days, he got the opportunity to watch me compose a piece of music. That made it very special. It was the first time that he ever saw me create the piece. It's an old piece of music. The first time we ever performed it was during the Acropolis concerts, but I still love it every time I play it. And I was telling him, eventually I said, you know, here I'm going to put the cello, and in this part there'll be the orchestra, the violins will begin, and I could sort of sing it for him while I was playing it at the piano in the house. And then I remember I left and I came to America, and it took me a few months, and the piece of music came together, and he finally heard it with the orchestra. It's just, those are moments I'll never forget. You could see tears in his eyes, and he enjoys the piece anyway. He likes Until the Last Moment.
What do you think?
I wake up in the morning, I drink a lot of coffee, and I just begin working. What kind of work do? I do everything.
This whole orchestra up front gets pulled apart to its basic parts. So each violin has a single microphone, or sometimes two microphones, and it has its own channel on the console. There are two consoles that control all the sounds. So essentially what we're doing is just taking the whole orchestra apart to its basics, bring them in the console, treat each instrument separately, and then put it back together and amplify it. That's the only way you can get punch out of the sound. These are click tracks that we play to so that people can stay locked, and also it feeds video and it feeds the lighting guys and everything, so everything stays locked.
I work very hard, I pay attention.
Put an EQ on 3 and 4.
I work with everyone as closely as possible.
Charlie, start from the beginning and just go on the 3 chords there, because people can't figure out where the song is if there's no singing.
It's endless hours and days and weeks and months, and
sounds great. Let's do it again. It's perfect. Do it again.
I have a concept, I have an idea. It's a very strong idea usually in my mind, and I hold on to it. That's what creativity is. That's what creating something is. You see it in your mind's eye. You hear it in your mind's ear. You know exactly what it is. And I don't lose touch with that.
The goal is to try to finish every tune. We'll try not to get stuck. If somebody needs to go through their solo, maybe I'll pause for a second, run the solo part one time, and then move to the next song, and the next song, and the next song. I'm going to try to drive straight through rehearsal so we can finish early, because I also don't think I'm going to last very long today. All right, well, standing in motion is great. It's working. I don't have a problem with it. It's going to be the opening. In fact, when I get to the keyboard stations at the very beginning, I'm thinking, here it goes, I think I'm going to have lasers going all around, especially on the plucked violin part.
and maybe create a cone that actually responds to that plump, 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 plump. You can just do that. This is a collaborative art form. You know, you have a lot of people. You have lighting directors, camera people, directors, sound engineers, musicians. There's a lot of things going on simultaneously. So it does tend to take a life of its own. I'm just trying to keep it so that the life it takes is very close to what I really wanted in the first place.
Smoking. Okay, let's do it again. No.
I really love Sacred Ground. It starts out with Hammer Dulcimer doing the groove, and that whole thing came about just one of those deals in rehearsal where we start playing, and Yanni says, I like that. We might open the show with that, you know, and we did for a while.
The screens behind us are extremely important because they allow you to see close-ups of the musicians. And it's extremely important to see the expressions on the musicians' faces and what it takes to make the sounds they make. I want people to see that from up close, so they're critical in enjoying the performance. Sasha, Alexander Zhirov from Moscow. What a great cellist. I remember one day he was coming in at rehearsal and I just got this idea in the back of my mind. I just thought, Sasha, come here, bring the cello. And we sat down. I said, look, I have this idea. We can have a cello solo in the middle of the concert, but it has to be full of fireworks. It has to be exciting. It has to be emotional. It has to be beautiful because the cello is such a gorgeous instrument, but its sound is delicate. It could get destroyed very easily by drums or bass or keyboards or anything else around it. It tends to disappear. I wanted to show the cello in all its magnificence, isolated. And Sasha is such a powerful cellist, powerful performer. He doesn't just play the cello, he attacks the cello.
This is called Nightingale, and Pedrito starts it. No click, I'll cue you when the click comes. Okay.
The single most important thing about this new show is control of the environment. At the Acropolis and at the Taj Mahal, the Forbidden City, our outdoors concerts, very difficult to control the environment. You're on ancient sites that you have to be extremely careful about how you position your equipment. In an arena, you have pretty much 99% control of the environment, and you can position your musical instruments, your PA, your lights, any which way you like. And this way you can concentrate on the performance and capturing the performance. And I think that was the single most powerful factor in the creation of this video.
Most critical aspect of everything, because this blocks the sound from the big arenas, cleans it up, and it also lets you hear what everybody else is playing. Very important.
In the end, it's a little boy playing the piano. It's a little boy expressing himself. It's a little boy from a small town in Kalamata, Greece, being moved emotionally, wanting to be understood or felt by his fellow human beings, also wanted to be a positive in the society. I've remained a little boy, and I can still write music, and I still feel the same way I felt when I was a little boy about the creative process and the music and making music. And still is one of my greatest pleasures in life, creating. And I still seek to move people emotionally and touch them and touch their hearts. My music is not about complexity or logic, it's about emotion and communication. I think that's the meaning of life right there. I think that's the meaning of being a performer, is communication. If you can touch people's hearts and souls and move them, inspire them, affect them, change their mood, make them feel better, I think that is the meaning of a composer's life. I just make music that I like. I don't make music because it's in this year. I make music because I enjoy doing it. I just write music without thinking about that stuff. And as long as the music is true, it will find its audience. And everyone doesn't have to enjoy it. You know, you can't communicate with everybody. But the whole idea is to communicate with as many people as possible. This was a fun piece that developed out of a Vivaldi piece of music. And we picked up the speed. We turned it up to about 160 beats per minute, which is incredibly fast. And it was based on a Vivaldi piece. But we also wrote a lot of new parts ourselves. And I have two incredible violinists anyway, with Sample and Sayaka. And I thought, cut them loose, let them have some fun and see some fireworks. And then the rest is history. It's just a fun piece. We call it The Storm. And it's a gas to play on stage, and people love it. We've been doing it on tour now for, I've done 60 shows with that song already, and the public responds to it.
Nice. Nice. Nice.